So I've been taking italki classes for a while now. I have one tomorrow. Whenever I have a Japanese class, I would take notes. So I was just like reviewing some of the notes. It's mostly like vocabularies. She assigned me homework, so I'm gonna do it on italki now. I know the feeling of coming home after work and wanting to do absolutely nothing. That's actually why scheduling my italki classes helps keep me on track. In the new year, I really want to get better at taking classes consistently. Since I don't take them every week, I try to make sure I still remember what I learned last time. Having classes gives me structure and forces self-discipline, and honestly, I always feel good afterward because I can see the progress. 友達が私を動物園に連れて行ってくれました。It can feel uncomfortable at first, but it definitely gets easier. It also makes a huge difference to have a supportive teacher. My lessons don't feel like classes, they feel like talking to a friend. We share our ups and downs, and that connection makes language learning so much more enjoyable.
ハートブレイク。ハートブレイク。
何をあった？
何があった？
何があった？
大体1ヶ月。
そうですよね。仕事はいつも忙しいので、日本語を勉強したいけど、時間がない。そして友達が先週末、私のうちに。I'm actually really excited for this package. So if you don't know, like I use Hobonichi every single day, and last year I ordered on their official website, which costs a lot to ship it to Canada. So this year I was like, is there a better way? And I found out I can order them on Amazon Japan. This is so cute. Oh my god! It's like stamps, but they're all cats. This is like the cutest thing ever. So last year I got like the one in red. It's one piece, but this year I was like, I kind of want to go for a different vibe. I'm so excited for 2026 to use this. This kind of feels different too. It's like plastic. Or I don't know, it's like a book cover or something. Like it's a different material. It's shiny too. So there's this sticker. This is just the regular TED show. Yeah, Hobonichi TED show 2026. I got one in the Japanese version. I don't watch a lot of anime as I used to. Like in high school, I used to watch a lot of anime, but right now I'm not watching a lot of them. But this year, like my favorite anime is Windbreaker. I think in Japanese it's Windbreaker. And they have a special edition. I'm really excited to read this.
支配する存在でもなければこのゲームを統括する存在ってあの海に目を閉じればするこれだけお父さんお父さんは
One of my favorite ways to unwind at home is building Legos or doing crafts, and on days when I really need to de-stress, I'll put on an episode of a show. Lately, I've been obsessed with Alice in Borderland. I know I can't give it my full attention while multitasking, but that's kind of the point. When I'm tired, it's a great low-pressure way to get extra listening practice without stressing myself out. I love reading, and I always talk about how important it is to mix language learning with things you already enjoy. I love a good novel, but it's usually easier to start with magazines or manga. If I have to look up most of the words on a page, I know it's not the right level for me. When I can actually get into the flow of reading, I stop seeing language learning as something that's supposed to be difficult all the time. It becomes fun and relaxing instead. Not only do I get to enjoy the story, but I'm learning at the same time. I had a long week. It's finally the weekend. I just read Windbreaker for a little bit. I actually cannot remember the last episode I watched. I watched anime first, and then I bought this. When I read this type of manga, I just feel like I don't really need to use my brain. It's just so relaxing and so funny to me. During the weekend, I have more time to focus on myself. Lately, I've been reading Eleanor and Park in French. Since it takes more effort to follow the story in another language, I annotate as I go. I don't look up every single word I don't know, otherwise I'd stop consistently and lose the flow. I only check words when I cannot guess their meaning from context. I'm also not a fan of creating a giant vocabulary list for a book because there are just too many new words. Instead, I find it much easier to remember vocabulary when the words are related or fit into a theme. The nice thing about looking things up while reading is that you will usually see those words again later in the story, and that repetition really helps them stick. I do feel like I've been building a lot of knowledge in grammar, but not so much in vocabulary. I feel like I've just been using the same vocabularies over and over again. And I found like a list of vocabulary that I can learn, and it's by theme. 처음 받겠습니다. 김만성입니다. For Korean, I really want to make sure I'm building a solid foundation in basic grammar and vocabulary. I'm still working through my textbook, and I go through each chapter by writing down new words and repeating them. This chapter focused on the present tense and some common verbs, so I did the practice exercises to reinforce what I learned, but since the textbook doesn't cover every verb, I also like to conjugate extra ones in my notebook. It helps me understand the pattern better and gives me more exposure to the grammar.